My name is Gail Anderson, and I call myself a recovering school psychologist. I have a PhD in educational psychology from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and I was a school psychologist for 20 years, about 17 in the same district.
My name is Tammy Holtan-Arnol. I'm a school counselor in the Verona Area School District in Verona, Wisconsin. And I learned about the Nurtured Heart approach when I became an elementary counselor. I went in, I just wanted to be the happy guidance teacher that talked to them about them and they were going to love me, and they chewed me up and ate me for lunch. And so the principal gave me the book, and I read it and processed it and used it and started to have success, and I did that for a couple of years. And I wanted to get it even better. So in 2013, I came to my first CTI, my Certified Training Intensive, and went back, and now I still am a school counselor in the district with a major focus on teaching the Nurtured Heart approach to teachers and parents. We really started on the Nurtured Heart approach journey separately and at different times. But we found each other, and we now, and we just did a certified training intensive together, spent a lot of time together. We also participate in a greatness group together, a professional group where we get together and share what we're doing, encouraging each other.
Which you really need to do with someone and not try to do it on your own. And it's just been really fun. Other than meeting at 6:30 in the morning for the teachers, now that I'm retired, it has been so great to encourage one another and just hear what we're doing in our own lives and encourage each other in their own greatness.
In my first year back after attending CTI, and I gave a lot of introductory presentations, and I gave the teacher class. At the end of the classes, I always encourage people to join my mission to bring the Nurtured Heart approach to our district. And I say, if this has had an impact on you, if it's had an impact on your class, I encourage you to talk to your principal, email the superintendent, email the principal, let them know what this has meant to you and that you would support spending more of the budget on more of the Nurtured Heart approach. And that's that grassroots movement that I'm trying to start. And so in the beginning of my second year, trying to spread the Nurtured Heart approach in our district, both middle school principals invited me in to give staff development on the Nurtured Heart approach at the beginning of the school year. And both middle schools invited me to come and teach the class during professional development time to staff that wanted it. And other principals have also invited me to come in and give presentations, or the whole class. One school, he mandated that every staff member, including secretaries and educational assistants, take the class from Paula and me at the beginning of the school year. The principals seeing the results that the teachers were having, the teachers making noise about it, the principals seeing it, and the principals are the decision makers who could provide the time to make it happen for more teachers.
Because the district is kind of struggling with how to implement positive behavior and looking for a positive approach. And we are here to say we know what it is. And how do you keep it from, my experience has been having to fight the tendency to get into the negative and defining infractions really carefully. And I've had to keep saying, if you're defining them and looking for them, you'll see them. And they know that. So Nurtured Heart is such a great reminder about how to do PBIS the right way and really with the right heart. When I first came back, I did a few in-services for other schools and workshops for other schools, and then I pretty much stayed in my elementary school and focused on that and the parents there. So I would say Tammy picked it up and went with it on a more district global-wide level. Because there's a push in Wisconsin for PBIS, positive behavior support, I think they see Nurtured Heart as a way of unifying the district a little bit, and I think her boldness has really helped principals take some courage in being more insistent that we're not going to punish kids. I see that in the elementary school I was with, that the principal's taking a pretty bold stand. We aren't going to suspend kids. It doesn't help. And I think the administration is ready to listen in a great way.
I have used the Nurtured Heart approach to spread the Nurtured Heart approach. And so I gave a few intro presentations where maybe 3 people would come or 4 people would come. I did an introductory presentation where 1 person came. One really strategic thing that I was able to do was get meetings with the superintendent. And I said, the first time I said, you have to make people do this. And he's really wise. He understands the power of the story, like Howard Glasser understands the power of the story. And he said, I want to tell you, I believe in this, and I believe that this has the transformative potential of effect on our district that you're telling me, but me making people do it is a fast death to this in our district. So I will support you, I will mentor you and encourage you, and I will give you opportunities, but I can't make people do it and have it be successful. In that moment, I said, then I'm going to go out and I'm going to bring this to teachers, and I'm going to create a grassroots movement so that eventually you have no choice but to give the teachers what they want, because when they learn about this, they're going to want it. So that's been my mission through the teaching of the classes and the workshops. And when people learn about it and when they do it and they experience the success with their students, when they experience the happiness within themselves, then it just sells itself. So then I just focus on the people who want it. And yes, we have resistance, and yes, there are naysayers, but I don't focus on tackling them because I have all these other people that really want to work with me.
Well, what we did right away is we saw transformation in the hardest special ed kids. So that was a good and bad thing. We've talked about it since then, that the true believers that I influenced right away were pupil services. And they got it, they totally believed in the positive nature and super energizing success. I think some of our special ed teachers are the best I've ever seen at Nurtured Heart. We transformed, I think, how we thought about parents. So we used to say we were going to try to have fun IEP meetings where we had to focus for the first 5 minutes on what parents were doing right. So that was a big change. And then just looking at our discipline policy in our own elementary school and saying we had a guidance counselor who was so nice. I wanted to go talk to her. So if a kid could get in trouble and go talk to her, we had to kind of switch that around and not make that a reward for bad behavior. We would start Monday morning by saying, what did you do well this week? And what does that say about you? And just learning how to do that for each other and to really celebrate each other's successes and greatness and strengths, focusing on that. And then sort of modeling that that's how we need to do that with children.
I was able to, in my work as a school counselor, go in and model it when I was teaching my guidance lessons. And one of the things that took off right away, even with resistant teachers, was something that I just called greatness and goodbyes. So at the end of my guidance, I would say, I might do it in partners, or I might do it as a large group, but is there anyone who would like to recognize someone else's greatness? And so when you do it in partners, which is really the most powerful because then everybody gets it, I had one first grade class where I would leave that class and go teach another first grade class right away. And 2 times I left that class just sobbing to where I had to pull myself together in the next class, because the things that these first graders would say about each other and notice in each other and what it meant was so moving. So the teachers saw that. They saw how their students, all students were responding, and they started to incorporate that at the end of the school day. So that was an easy way to infuse some of the Nurtured Heart approach techniques, even for the people that weren't buying in whole hog from the beginning.
I have a grandson who's 5 now, and he's had a lot of medical trauma, but he's this brilliant, creative, hilarious, and quite challenging, intense child. And I've been sort of involved in helping his parents learn the approach. He's had a rough kindergarten year so far. And the nicest thing that I've ever heard from anyone was from my daughter-in-law recently, who said, thanks to my husband and me, and she said, thanks for being our champions so that we can champion our son. And Nurtured Heart makes all the difference in those relationships too. I think from the adult perspective is really interesting, because I know I'm on the PBIS committee at one of the middle schools that's really trying to implement Nurtured Heart approach and more positive approaches in general, and less punishment, less office referrals, keeping things in the classroom. And we know that parents and community members are going to have some questions about that as they see suspensions go down, and know that we're not punishing kids as much. So we've been trying to think of, do we write articles for local papers? How do we let the community know, yeah, you're right, things are changing, and we think it's great. I think for us, it's been an issue of, we're not really all about compliance as our ultimate goal, but we want to see change in how people treat each other, how they feel about each other. We want them to follow rules because they care about each other, the school, themselves, in a positive way.
I coach a teacher who has several students who have with challenging behaviors in her class, and one of the students, the parents said he didn't have any problems last year, and his teacher punished him a lot last year and yelled at him a lot last year, and so what you're doing is not working. And this was the second week of school. And the teacher came to me and she said, I need to have a response to this parent. And we talked about it, and she ended up saying to the parent, I believe that. I believe that he responded in that, but I have higher hopes for him. I have higher hopes that he can see himself differently, which then he will act out his greatness, as opposed to being in fear of getting in trouble. And within the first quarter, he had done that, and the parents are her biggest fans now. And he's a different kid, not just in the classroom, but also in other places at home. They see that he's different. And so I think it's those kind of experiences that help people believe the potential of the non-punishment and the bringing out of the greatness.
We had to learn partly that it wasn't all about ignoring negative behavior, but we had to be really active in our ignoring and be ready to recognize the second kids were back to good behavior. When we first started Nurtured Heart at our school, we were ignoring a lot because that was so new and different to us that it was great, but the really challenging kids, or sometimes a whole class, would notice, oh, we can just up the ante a little more, and they could get us. So we had to get better at really knowing clarity and how to do that. So I was just thinking that one way of a whole community getting involved is now, I think Nurtured Heart is out in the community, word of mouth. So I'm looking to do parent classes other places now because I'm starting a private practice, and I've gotten referrals from in-home autism treatment agencies where the director has a child in one of Tammy's schools, so has heard about Nurtured Heart and wanted to bring it to her agency and the parents there. And I've gotten referrals to do parent and teacher training in parochial schools because people just hear about, oh, there's this new thing in Verona schools that's really positive. So that's been really fun for me to see.
I think about this boy whose parents took the parenting class, and the boy was just starting kindergarten. He had a history of throwing tantrums at home at transition time or times that he didn't get his way. And he was bringing some of those behaviors to school. And the parents took the parenting class, and within 2 weeks of talking to their child who had given them difficulties for years, they were seeing him in a new light, and he was doing different things. He was responding to the world in a different way, and he was responding to school in a different way. His teacher was incorporating some of the Nurtured Heart approach ideas, and they were really doing it at home. And when you think about if they hadn't done that, like what he gets to take with him from kindergarten through the rest of his school, through the rest of his childhood, is different because they changed. They didn't know they were so powerful. They didn't know that they could ignite a different kind of part of his greatness, a different part of him that they hadn't been able to tap into yet. So when you think about how his worldview is going to be shaped, his school view is going to be shaped, because in his first 2 months of kindergarten, they took this on. His life is forever changed because of that.
The Nurtured Heart approach taught us and gave us techniques to work with the hardest kids and find alternatives, and also I think to reset ourselves right away and listen to our own hearts, who had been saying to each other, this doesn't feel good. And Nurtured Heart felt great to work with kids, gave us a positive way.